Hi, my name is Rachel Thompson. I'm a member of the Greater Lehigh Valley Writers Group, and I'm here today to read you a story from the Greater Lehigh Valley's Writers Group anthology. This particular one is from 2017, and at the end of it, I will answer the question, where did the idea come from? So this one, oh, by the way, these anthologies are all done on a theme. The theme of this one is the right connections. So this story I'm about to read is about connections. Definitely, it's a speculative fiction, we'll call it. This one's called A Cat's Tale. It's clear to me now, at the end of my 9 lives, as I fade, I understand. Had I known in the beginning, I would have failed more. I'd have been less of a cat. When I first met Edward, I was confused. I was a spirit, uncertain of my own nature, trapped inside a young black cat. I was but a kitten, compelled to feline ways. Many years passed inside that first cat and the 8 cats after that, before I had control enough over my cattishness to know myself. It was better that way, not knowing. I didn't understand that only an innocent could receive Edward's heart or influence it. Edward was my reason for being. I know that now. From the start, I projected feelings into him. For what purpose? I did not know then. We were linked spirits, and neither of us knew it. Oh, on his deathbed, he still didn't know. It was 1962 when his mother found me lurking about by the front step. It was then I first realized I was sentient, and I panicked in my knowing I was a cat, but not a cat. I cried out, "Save me, madam, remove this cattishness from me." But all that came out of me was meow, meow. She bent down and picked me up with much mirth. She was a stout woman, young and strong. From her arms, I surveyed the world. Her home was a little post-war shitbox, as they called it. That is to say, a long, low ranch house. It was very small indeed. I looked out from her arms and saw a dirt road carved out of a farmer's field. There were 2 other houses down the hill that men were building on this street, which was now a ruined cow pasture. Cows moved from the field across that fresh gravel road, and I hissed all my confusion at them. That field was never subsequently developed. Such was my power, which I didn't yet understand. When I died the second time, Edward's dad buried me there among the cow bones. Now, what shall I call you? Edward's mom said, holding me up by my cattish armpits. I dangled there, not knowing my own name. Lucky thing them cows or cement trucks didn't squash you like a slug. Lots of slugs around here, mice too. You'll come in handy. Lucky for me and lucky for you. That's it. I'll call you Lucky. Then she drew me closer with tenderness and cradled me like a new baby. And she scratched me behind my ears. A motor of contentment released within me. It felt nice. It felt right to be cattish for the moment. Other caddish things came to me then. I felt a pang of hunger in my stomach. I tried to tell her, but all that came out was meow. Oh, you're hungry, I see. Come inside and have a bite. Meet my son and daughter. No school for them yet. In a panic, I struggled to be put down, but my cattish stomach would not let me run from the idea of food. What could I do? I was a spirit in a flesh body that needed sustenance. This much I knew, though I did not know how I knew it. I was whisked into the ranch house. The aluminum screen door snapped behind us as she carried me in. The bang of the door should have frightened me, but I saw a baby playing on the floor, a little boy in cloth diaper and a little dirty t-shirt. My heart leapt and my body followed. All at once, I knew he was why I had come. But how did I know that? I went to him and rubbed my cattish head on his face with joy. He giggled and said, "Kitty, kitty." "Ha, I'm the lucky one," Mother said. You're just what I need to keep my 2-year-old entertained. Lucky, meet Edward. Meow, I said. She proceeded into the kitchen, which was only a step away from the living room, and opened a can of tuna fish. The smell of it drove me into the kitchen. How disturbing! I had so little control over my own body. Cattishness was firmly in control, so I gobbled it up before I knew it. When I came to my right mind again, I realized his family was poor. This shabby little house, although new, was cheap. The clothes they wore were rags, and the beat-to-hell furniture was probably picked from the local dump. That can of tuna was a sacrifice. Would her husband be cross when he got home from work? I decided right then and there I would fend for myself and not cost them any more than necessary. I had decided to become a mouser that day, as soon as I was less of a kitten. I dedicated myself to be the little boy's best pal as further repayment. I had found an awareness in my place in life, although I did not understand exactly what my role was. The cattishness in me ruled my body, usurped my mind, but one thing was clear. I was for that boy Edward, and he was for me. Somehow, behind it all, I knew he was my charge. Call it instinct, not cattish instinct, mind you, but an inner knowing. Over the years of his youth, I taught him humanities such as kindness to animals and others. To love is in small ways. I would comfort him when he was spanked or sick or had fallen or had failed his test. I curled at his feet when he drew pictures or read books or watched TV. When he became complacent, I scratched him until he went outside to play. Outside, I followed him cattishly and warned him when the mean boy came around. Edward was deathly afraid of that bully. Once, when Edward was 11, I spied the mean boy, Gene, hitting him under the big oak tree across the street. I quickly climbed the tree and fell upon Gene with raking claws. The bully eventually grabbed me and dashed me to the ground. Edward, inspired, attacked him with doggish courage, and Gene withdrew. From that day onward, Gene would pitch rocks at me, and later shoot at me with his bows and arrows. But by that time, I had grown so clever, he could never get close enough to cause me harm. Edward grew into a competent teenager, and that was good, for I became so cattish, I was no longer of any help to him. We had the same problem. Edward was distracted by females, as was I. I was the biggest tomcat within half a mile, and as such, always fending off challengers. My ears were nicked. I had scars across my face. I had ripped out a nail in the fight with a bobcat. Cats and dogs gave way wherever I roamed after that. But in my pride, I forgot to look after Edward. Perhaps that is why I died that first time. I was in the house that day, licking my paws and dressing my most recent wound, a gouge behind my ear where a hound dog had bitten me not long before. Edward came to me. He was 17 and in need of comfort. Lucky, he said, this girl broke my heart. He shoved a photograph towards me where I lay. I don't know if I should shit or spit. I was in no mood. The battle was still upon me, and my cattishness would not let me think straight. He reached for me soothingly, and I lashed out. I slashed his hand with a claw. God dang cat, he leapt back. What's your problem? He swatted at me the way Mom did when I jumped on the kitchen table. I stood and hissed, raised the hair on my back. War was upon me again. I did not know what I was doing. Great, when I need you, you turn on me just like Kathy. Screw you. Edward came at me. I tried to run for the cat door, but he kicked me viciously on my way out. The blow knocked me through the little flap and over the stoop's edge. I bounced off all 3 concrete steps on my way to the lawn. I was badly hurt. At 15 years old, a cat is practically ancient. My reflexes had failed me, or I would not have been hurt so bad. Such was the blow that it knocked the cattishness right out of me. I lay there panting and thinking and dying. Then I remembered why I had come. I came for Edward, and I had failed him in his need. I began to cry in my cattish way. I cried for Edward's pain. I cried for mom and dad, left to raise two children without a cat. I cried for all of them until a realization bathed me in light. I could not die here. Edward would never forgive me, but my hip was broken. My guts were bleeding inside me. Edward, Mom called, go see what that fool cat is whining about. I'm busy, Mom. I'll give you busy. He's your cat. All right, as soon as I hang up the phone. Funny how uncat-like I was in dying. For one last time, I summoned my cattishness. There was a vent hole through the foundation wall near the stoop. I had long ago punched the grate out. With my front paws, I dragged myself to the hole and crawled through. Mom, he's gone, ran off someplace. I'm going over Kathy's. I heard footsteps. His car's engine started. The gravel of the driveway crackled. Then the chirp of tires on pavement. He was gone. This would not do. They will smell me rotting. So I crawled in the mud until I was well away from the vent hole. And there I passed. And so my first life ended, and I returned in another cat and another. And I was always black, and they always named me Lucky, all 9 of me. But my luck has now run out. Edward, 78 years old, died a week ago. All during his cancer treatments, I lay at his lap. I did all I could to absorb his sickness to no avail. I got sick too. I died full of cancer at the foot of his bed just after they took his body away. Now I'm a spirit again, floating free. The light calls me, but I cannot go. I will not go. What of Edward's grandson? Who will watch over him with Edward and me gone? Edward's son had been killed in war, and Edward, such a good man, fought to prevent wars since it had been his life's work, his passion. Edward had fought the good fight. Who will teach his grandson kindness in this bitter world? As I hover over Edward's funeral service, the light growing stronger, pulling me. I can't resist it. How can I rest in peace? Knowing. How can I rest in peace knowing I failed in my duty to him? I must stay. But look, the family is leaving the parlor. The lights pulls me so strongly. I am higher now. I know if I don't let go, I will cease to exist as a spirit. But wait, there is a cat on the stoop. It follows the little boy. Grandmother grabs him up. As I fade into blackness, I hear her say, lucky for us, you came along. Little Edward's going to need a pal. I let go and became light. So where did that story come from? When I was little, we had a cat named Lucky, and it was a big old tomcat. And that cat just seemed indestructible. It seemed as though it had a special life. Hope you enjoyed it.